Matthews Bree Houston. It's crunch time.
And welcome to Crunch Time. Jeff Matthews Bree Houston in the studio for the second time this semester. It has been fantastic. Sports are finally coming back into full swing. Woo! Woo-hoo. We're still dealing with some COVID things, but nothing too fancy. But we're going to start low on local sports, and that's going to be some high school football. Rossview 41, Station Camp 0, coming up with nothing. Northeast. Am I reading this right?
Take your time.
Northeast Dyer County. Oh, it was a forfeit win. Northeast took the win. Creekwood 21, Montgomery Central 0. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. I think there's going to be a few situations where teams are forfeiting because of COVID.
I think you're right. But you say that, but then on the other hand, a couple other teams have been postponing.
Yes. It's interesting to see if these games that they forfeit are postponed. Who will, if they do forfeit, is it the team that forfeit the game? Will that count as a loss or a neutral game? It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that one's going to turn out. But to continue on, Henry County, a big 55 to Clarksville Highs 7. Portland 31, West Creek 27. That one actually sounds like it was a good game. And then Kenwood 61, Northwest 14. That's a big 61.
That's tough, yeah.
Trinity Christian 16, Clarksville Academy 13, another close game.
Yeah, very good one.
And then the Houston County to 28, and then East Hickman 24, another pretty close game. So pretty good football going around the Clarksville area this past weekend.
That's right. Really good football, really close matches. I think everyone's just happy to have football back. I keep saying it like
absolutely.
This. We're not deep into the season already, but still it was, we almost didn't have a football season. And just to have some form of it or to have it back is amazing.
I mean, I tell you what, I think some people don't know how close we were to not having football at the high school level, at least. I mean, I know Mayor Cooper, he came out and he said that he was thinking about suspending high school sports for the semester, which that would have been brutal, especially for some of these seniors. I mean, if they don't get a chance to play in the spring, I mean, then they kind of just end their high school career of football with nothing.
Yeah, kind of like the seniors who ended their career last year. If you think about it, the pandemic happened around March, so they ended all sports. You have track and field, you have people who are doing cross country,
right? All
those type of sports, and they didn't get to compete in their senior season.
Well, and I mean TSSAA, Tennessee, they control all the high school sports stuff.
Yeah,
they can't really do what the NCAA did, which was grant another year of eligibility. Now, here in high school, unfortunately, you don't get that leisure of being granted eligibility for another year unless you want to redo another high school year, which not many of them would want to. I know for a fact.
how I would feel about that.
Right.
You're in high school. You want to go to college. You're excited. You're looking forward to college. But what if it was your time to break out? Your breakout season. You were going to be the best. You're going to have all the colleges looking at you. You've practiced and trained yourself for this moment and for it to be taken away. If I did get that opportunity, if I was in their shoes, it depends. Because if I have a scholarship opportunity already, I'm saying I don't want to repeat. I don't want to be a fifth-year senior.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any colleges looking at you, and TSSAA granted you that.
No, would you want to go through?
I would never want to do senior year again in high school. But
would you want to go through that English class again?
Never.
Or study science and the evolution of plants and fertilization?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass.
I'll pass on that one. College, I'm on my way. But no, the NCAA. I think they did the right thing for college athletes to grant them another year of eligibility. But man, a fall without football would have been hard. Would we have gotten through it? Of course, but
we're resilient.
But it would have been pretty darn hard to do that. Into the college level, Austin Peay taking a loss once again against Cincinnati this past weekend. Did not look too good. Lost 55-20. Better than the previous weeks, 55-0.
Yeah, very tough loss. Austin Peay finished their fall schedule 0-3. They did play a ranked team. Cincinnati's ranked 13. This game was kind of special because they were allowed to bring family members and friends. So about 100 Governor fans drove to the game to show their support. And what did they get when they drove to the game? They got to see C.J. Evans in action.
Oh, yeah.
The kid is amazing. He had 2 touchdowns, 88 yards, 12 carries, 7 yards on 3 receptions. He had 141 all-purpose yards. Of course, that brought him Player of the Week for FCS. I mean, I'm just excited to see what he evolves to.
Right.
We talked about him the first week of the season, and he had that outbreak play. And it just seems like he just keeps getting better and better. Right now, so the Governors are waiting to see what the spring will look like. They don't know if they'll have a spring portion of their schedule. They're waiting for the Ohio Valley Conference to announce if they will allow games, and if that is so, they still have a chance to defend their title. Last year they won OVC. They were OVC champions, so they get to defend that title if it's allowed. They'll go straight into conference play.
Well, I mean, that would be super exciting for Austin Peay Governor fans to see the Austin Peay Governors defending that title. I mean, that was huge for this city, for Austin Peay to go out there and win it. But not only did they win it, I mean, they went deep into the playoffs. They went to I think it was the third round of the playoffs.
Third round.
I mean, that is just something that, for one, none of us as the student body, I don't think you could really say we expected that. I mean, we are so used to having a football program that has struggled for so many years, and then you get Will Healy to come in and coach, and Coach Healy, was able to bring us a couple of wins his second season in, and then Will Healy leaves, and then we have Coach Hudspeth, and Hudspeth takes us to a conference championship, and then Ohio Valley Conference championship, and then takes us deep into the playoffs, and now Hudspeth is gone, and so now we have Lovings, and now Lovings is trying to figure out what he can do, but I mean, he's been given a mess of a season.
Yeah, it's tough. But I think these 3 games, they can take it, learn from it, see what they need to improve on, because these games, I'm not going to say they don't matter, because it's always a learning part that they can learn from.
And that's a true statement, especially when you're playing, bigger teams like Central Arkansas, they're a little bit of a bigger team. But then Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, really big name teams here that, are at a different level, I would say, than Austin Peay. But the cool thing is that you're getting those reps in against high-tier teams to then come back down to your conference and play.
Yeah, so it's a learning opportunity. They can treat it like a preseason, watch film, see where they need to improve on to be ready to play conference. Which really, conference games, those are the games that truly matter when you're trying to get back to where they were. And their slogan this year is "Run It Back." So they want to compete for another championship, and I think they're in a good place to do so.
Oh, absolutely. And then, we were talking about C.J. Evans. I mean, a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been able to do some amazing things. You said at 141, was it?
All-purpose
yards. I mean, that's not something that even some seniors can do on some football teams. You know what I'm saying? I'd love to see where he gets to go further down the line, how he progresses through the season and how he progresses with the coaching staff here at Austin Peay. I'd love for him to get a consistent coach for the next few years.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'm super excited to see where his level of play grows to. He's such a physical kid. He's built for it, and he has the talent. I think the coaching staff is doing a really good job with him, and I, from what I've heard, they are so excited to have Lovings as the coach right now.
Well, I mean, I'm sure when it comes down to it from next season, depending on if Austin Peay gets OVC play or not, we could see Coach Lovings, stay here at Austin Peay for a couple years, or since he is the interim head coach, he might be leaving at the end of the season as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot up in the air right now, so, I mean, there's nothing you could really say for sure. But I think one thing that you can say, if you're an Austin Peay Governor on the football team, I think you're kind of hoping for a coach for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That way you can at least develop some team chemistry around a coach, and you can kind of get used to a system, and you're not having to switch things up. Because Will Healy had the double quarterback system with Javon Craig and Jeremiah Oatsvall, and then you have Hudspeth that comes in and plays Oatsvall over Craig, but then Oatsvall goes down early in the season, and now Craig had to step up. I mean, if you think about it, Austin Peay has kind of had a wild past 2 years of football.
Yeah, it's, I did play basketball in college, and it's difficult when you switch coaches like that because each coach brings their own philosophy to the game. So every coach you get, you're having to rethink the system, relearn different things, how this coach is. It's like a relationship.
Right.
You get used to that one person. If they like popcorn while they're watching a movie, or if they like the buttery kind or the sugary kind. So, getting a coach is, along the same lines. You learn a coach, and then if you keep getting a different coach, you're having to learn different things. If you get one coach, you learn their system, you're able to just focus on the game.
Absolutely, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. Now, we talked about this last week a little bit. Major League Baseball possibly coming to Nashville as a home. The cool thing about today is we actually had a chance to sit down and talk with Phil Wood, who is a former, or semi-retired, I should say, announcer for the Washington Nationals. He's also an adjunct here at Austin Peay. Really cool dude. He's been a mentor for me and a lot of the announcers here on the radio side for quite some time, and also on TV side. But he and I talked about a lot of the things that you and I talked about, Bree, last week, and I mean that Tampa Bay is the number one pick right now for a team to move. And I say number one, not meaning that that's come out of anywhere, but meaning that, I mean, it just makes the most sense.
Yeah. The interesting thing that I held on from the interview is when he discussed how much teams were worth. He was saying, long gone are the days where you can pay $10 million for a team. He said, he quoted, a team was recently sold for $2 billion.
Yeah, the New York Mets. The New York Mets just sold their team. I want to say it was last week. I think it was last week. I mean, but he's right. I mean, teams aren't going to be selling for millions anymore. I mean, it's billions. It takes a lot to get into owning a football, baseball, soccer team. Soccer, maybe you could probably still hit millions. But I think it's as far as baseball is concerned, a lot of people think that baseball is kind of a dying sport. But, I mean, if you look at the numbers, I mean, if you're talking about price-wise, I mean, a sport that's going to be, a sport that costs billions of dollars to own a team isn't doing bad.
No, not at all. And you look at the contract that the players get, you wonder why you see 5 years, $300 million contracts. It's because the money is in baseball.
It is. There's a lot of money that comes in baseball. I mean, you saw one of the biggest things is Bryce Harper's big, huge contract,
yes.
Over $500 million for 10 years. I mean, Mike Trout had a huge contract. I forget the numbers on that one, but I mean, it was bigger than Bryce Harper's. I mean, there's so much money that goes into it. There's so much money that these owners are making that, I mean, it has just become ridiculous. But with that also comes that it costs money to start a baseball team. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue with Nashville is being able to start this. Now, obviously, Nashville has the money to do it if they wanted to. We also talked about, you and I talked about last week, the placement of the ballpark. We talked about across from Titan Stadium. And then one thing I didn't mention that Phil Wood did mention was that the baseball stadium and the Titan Stadium, if they choose to do that, would actually share the parking, which I didn't think about, but that's actually a genius idea. I mean, you're cutting down cost on creating parking lots. I mean, you're still probably going to have to create some area for parking, obviously, but I mean, in general, you're not building a huge parking lot.
Yes. Parking is always a huge thing. Sometimes I could even turn fans off because I don't want to park far away and walk in. But yeah, you do have to, whenever you're thinking about building a stadium, you have to think about where your fans are going to park and if it's a safe park or a safe place for them to park.
Exactly. And so now, I mean, I think a lot of things have to be discussed and decided upon here in the next coming few weeks or whatever with Nashville. But also Phil Wood talked about that it's not going to happen very soon. I mean, it's going to be probably 2027, 2028 before we see any real progress with a Major League Baseball coming to Nashville, which, although it's true, I think it's a true statement, but I mean, it's definitely worth talking about now because, I mean, baseball coming to Nashville is pretty big news.
Yeah, that was another interesting thing because when I read the article originally, they're shooting for 2024. So their hopes are really high. But like we discussed, they don't know where to put the ballpark. So there's, I think, there's a lot of hurdles they have to jump over before they can actually get this thing in motion. Yes, they have the investors with Justin Timberlake and the others. So they have the money, but now it's space. And, getting permits and dealing with the city. So it might be 2028 before we actually see a ballpark.
Now, that might be true. But we're going to jump into more of the national news around sports. I mean, the big stories right now, over the weekend, the NFL kind of just had some crazy stuff happen. First being Tennessee Titans coming up with a big W, 33-30 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the big rivalry with Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Ryan Tannehill, he had no interceptions. This is the second week in a row, no interceptions. The Titans are 2-0. Ryan went 18 on 24 passing, 239 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's really good to see the Titans falling into that groove of offense and chemistry with one another. Another big part of this game was obviously the kicker. Stephen Gostkowski.
Yes.
He missed the field goal. So I'm pretty sure everybody on the sideline, they're having small heart attacks like, oh, God, here we go again. They're having –
this is it.
They're having nightmares of last season and last week. But once again, he shows up in the fourth quarter with 1:36 left. He kicks a 49-yard field goal, and he makes it. And Titans go on to win by 3 points, 33-30.
Coach Vrabel was probably holding on to that defibrillator the whole entire game. Man,
what are we doing? Yeah. Why does this keep happening to us? Are we
one of
cursed?
these days he's gonna croak over on the sidelines? I swear, just because of the kicker.
Hopefully, there's AMT on the sidelines to resuscitate him.
There you go. But another team that had to have a big comeback. I don't think the Titans really had to have a big comeback, but Dallas Cowboys. That was a rough game to watch as a Dallas fan. As a football fan, it was incredible to watch because the Dallas Cowboys had a 20-point comeback to take the win. It was ugly. I'm not gonna lie. It was probably one of the ugliest wins I have ever seen, if I'm being honest.
I think they didn't want to have to deal with what they dealt with last week or the first week.
Right. So first week, Cowboys lose to the Rams 20-17. This past week. Cowboys play the Falcons. Now, if the best way to put it is that the Falcons were up by, I think, 24 points at half, 24-0, I think is what it was. In the third quarter, I think it was 24-10, and then they score a couple more points. Falcons do anyway. Cowboys now have to make a comeback. And so Cowboys finally win the game, 40-39. By 1 point. And the saving grace, there was 2 moments in this game that really created what happened. So the Falcons go down the field, score a touchdown, decide to not kick an extra point. They go for 2. Don't get it. Okay, cool. Scratch that off. That one's done. Well, and then you come back into the fourth quarter. It's like it's a minute and something left on the clock. And Dallas just scored a touchdown. And they need 1 more touchdown or they need 3 more points to win. Onside kick has to happen, right? So they go out and they kick an onside kick, and somehow, some way, the Atlanta Falcons don't jump on the ball, and Dallas does. After immediately once it hits 10 yards, Dallas just jumps on it, gets the ball, throws a couple passes to CeeDee Lamb, and then next thing you know, they're kicking a field goal and win the game. Stressful times here for the Dallas Cowboys. Not fun to watch at all.
Not fun to watch if you're a Cowboys fan, but think about it if you were a Falcons fan. Can we just take this moment to apologize for them for what they had to sit through on Sunday?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, my goodness.
But I'll read you off some stats for Dak Prescott. 34 for 47.
Wow.
450 yards, 1 touchdown himself, and no interceptions.
Yeah, that's why he got the big contract.
Oh, I know, right? He's got it coming. They didn't sign him yet. He's still playing under the franchise tag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they didn't give him his money.
So he has to prove him. He's proving himself right now.
This is the season he has to prove it. But Ezekiel Elliott, 22 carries, 89 yards. A little, I don't want to say underperforming, but at the same time, you can obviously tell that the run game wasn't as great as it could have been. All right, Ezekiel Elliott's one of the best rushers in the league.
Yes.
I won't say he's the best. Well, now maybe because Saquon Barkley is out of the season. But I will say that I would expect more from Ezekiel Elliott, but then that's just me. Receiving yards, CeeDee Lamb 6 for 106 yards, not too bad. Average 17.7 yards per carry. Excuse me. Ooh, it'll get out there eventually. Amari Cooper 6 for 100, 16.7 average yards per carry. Not too bad for the Dallas Cowboys this game. But on other news, we'll switch over now. I'll quit talking about my Cowboys. Another big moment is Tom Brady gets his first win as a Buccaneer, 31-17 against the Panthers.
I bet he's a little relieved now. Now that he's falling into what he's used to, which is winning.
Exactly right. He went 23 for 35, 217 yards, so it's not terrible, able to get this arm moving. 1 touchdown. He did throw an interception, though. It's I think, his 4th interception of the year.
Yeah.
Already. He had 3 last week against the Saints.
I think he's getting used to, trying to get used to his new teammates, new offensive set, everything that he's dealing with.
Trying his best. not really going as well as I think he'd like it to. But on the Panthers side, it was just Jared Bridgewater, 33 for 42, 367 yards. So, the only downfall is he did throw 2 interceptions. You look at numbers, it's not terrible.
It's not.
Right? But 2 interceptions.
You don't want to throw any, but...
Right. You'd love to see that at 0. But, sometimes things happen. But then you look at Christian McCaffrey. I did hear that he actually got injured. I think they said he was questionable for the rest of the season. I don't know. I haven't heard any updates on him. But 18 carries, 59 yards. Again, you'd love to see a little bit more out of him. Strong player for the Panthers. DJ Moore, 8 receptions, 120 yards. Anderson, 9 receptions, 109 yards. Not terrible numbers. You'd like to see a little bit more consistency. I've expected DJ Moore to get a little bit more than 8 receptions. I would have liked to seen him more at 12 and 130 yards, 140 yards. I think that's a realistic number for him.
Yeah.
But nothing too exciting. But for Brady, that's pretty exciting to get your first win, especially not with the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm still in shock that he's not with the Patriots, if I could say so.
It sounds weird.
Yeah, Brady,
Buccaneers. Brady
what?
Buccaneers. That's how I keep replaying. Brady Buccaneers.
Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yep.
Take the field. It's so weird.
It is weird. But another cool story coming out for the NFL, the Raiders.
Wow. Raiders.
New stadium. Their new stadium was on debut last night. That looks pretty nice. I'm not going to lie. I do like the all-black look.
Yeah.
It looks pretty slick.
The Raiders, they always come through with the silver and black, and it just looks really good.
Looks really good. It's a cool little... it just looks good. But they took a win over the Saints, which Saints didn't look that great last night, to be honest with you, which was shocking because last week I said that they looked like a Super Bowl caliber team.
You did, and what did I tell you?
It's too early, Jeff. It's too early. And I said, no, watch.
They're going to the Super Bowl.
I said they might. Okay. I said they look like a Super Bowl caliber team. For looking at the passing yardage for Drew Brees, 26 for 38, 312 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That's not bad. It's pretty good. Where it came down to it, I think it was just hard times in the rushing game. Kamara, 13 carries, 79 yards. Murray only had 3 carries for 14. And that was pretty much it.
People are questioning if or how long Drew Brees will be able to play, because he turned 41, so... Father Time, is he trying to Brett Favre it, stay in the game as long as he can? What's going on?
And I was actually thinking about that the other day. Some of these players who, we grew up watching in the 2000s into now, so the Tom Bradys and the Drew Brees and the Peyton Mannings and the Tony Romos and all these other guys who are quarterbacks who have kind of come and gone, except for Brady and Drew Brees, are really the two that I come up with.
Yeah,
that
are still in the game.
That are still in the game right now, back from way back when. But I'm not saying that they don't play fantastic. I think Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. One, I think Drew Brees is probably one of the most consistent quarterbacks to ever play the game. But Drew Brees, I think, is running out.
That's the question, but I don't know. They said the same thing about Tom Brady, and here he is.
That's true.
Whether you like him or not, the man knows how to win.
That is true. Not only does he know how to win, I mean, he knows how to win championships.
And that's the most important thing.
Right?
That's why they play the game.
Not many people can look you dead in the eye and go like, yeah, I got 7 Super Bowls. What's that?
7.
Count them. 1,
7.
2. You don't even have to know how to count. You just got 7.
7. Just look at my fingers. 7.
7. But as far as Drew Brees goes, I could see him. Okay, I'll call it right here.
No, wait, careful.
I know, right?
Remember what happened last week.
All right, well, here, this is
tread with
this
caution.
is the new segment where I just kind of start guessing things.
I
think Drew
bring
Brees.
it back up.
I know. Drew Brees, I think if they even make it to the playoffs, Drew Brees retires next season.
So this is his last season if he wins.
If he doesn't make it to the playoffs, if he doesn't make it to the playoffs, I think I give him another year. If he makes it to the playoffs, and even if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, I think he's done.
Okay.
That's where I'm going with.
Mark this day.
Mark this calendars.
Yeah.
Because Jeffrey.
What time is it?
2:13 in the afternoon for us right now.
All right.
I'm confident in that.
Okay.
I'm confident in that assumption.
I can't say either way, because I remember when people were putting a time limit on Brett Favre, saying, "Oh, well, this is his last season."
All right. Well, Brett Favre just kept going.
Tom Brady too. So they thought he was going to retire.
Brett Favre was like a dog that got hit in the road and then still just kind of keeps walking.
Like,
help! That hip was running out of time.
He was gonna go no matter what. So
where are my Wrangler jeans at? I think that was what Brett Favre was thinking about.
It's hard. It's really hard to predict when these players will quit, because this is what they've known all their lives.
That is true. I mean, literally, when you say that, that is 100% true. That is the only thing that they know of their whole entire life. And they went from high school. Some of them went from high school, a little bit of college, and then into the NFL. Yeah,
so it's difficult just for them to retire. They're used to the scheduling of having football in their lives, preseason, all season, OTAs, all of that. Into the adrenaline on Sunday. They're used to all that. So I cannot predict, and I'm not willing to say when he will retire, but I'll remember this day and what you said.
Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to a more serious subject of the matter around sports all around. And we don't have a whole lot of time, and that's my fault for not checking our time on it. But Black Lives Matter is in every sports division. You name it, they are there. Not necessarily as an organization, but as the movement itself, Black Lives Matter has become encased in all sports. And I think it's important that it is. I think it allows a lot of these players to kind of actually get a voice out for like their opinions and what they think of what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's very important. It's no longer an issue that's swept under the rug. And I believe when people support Black Lives Matter, they're not saying that other lives don't matter.
Oh, right, absolutely.
They're saying that this movement is making awareness of what the Black community have been dealing with since beginning of time, since we can remember there's injustices in the Black community. And I, for one, appreciate what athletes and, people in the spotlight are doing with their platform. We've seen it in the major leagues. We've seen it in the WNBA, NFL, NBA. Games were canceled, postponed, to acknowledge that there needs to be a change in what we do here in America. Not to bring racial tension, but to peacefully protest and to convey how you feel about the matter.
I agree 100%. And like I said, we are short on time, so I can't keep going on this one. But I think we should bring it up next week, and I think we should have a more in-depth conversation about it. But that'll do it for us this week on Crunch Time. A lot more sports are happening, and we are excited to see what's going on next week. We'll see you guys then.